Well, this looks very nice up here. I'm so glad I decided to set a bunch of excavators and trucks out to flatten this surface out so that we can use a whole bunch of materials to do a bunch of other things, because we needed to extend our footprint with the green and make a nice big forest and get ready for a couple of other, well, base moves probably later on down the road. Hello everybody, this is Frogman. Welcome back to Captain of Industry. I did go ahead and let the game run in between episodes just to see what we couldn't do about moving some dirt, moving some stuff around, and we definitely moved a little bit of dirt because this was not real completely ready to go. I had screwed up when we built this original seawall, and it was not tall enough. It was like 3 or 4 layers lower than what this area actually was, so I had to kind of go in and raise it up too, and then, well, lay a layer. I don't know, whichever one is right, it's fine, of dirt on top of that so that we could then use it as farmland for trees or farms or whatever. Part of the reason why this is the way that it is because I hauled a whole lot of dirt off of this mountain and put it down here. So we're just now finishing up on some of the flattening. Looks like we've actually got that almost all the way done back here. How do you look, my friend? You can get adjusted and told to finish that all out. While we do this, why don't we edit the area just a little bit? I want you to kind of stretch forward just to there. And then I want you to go ahead and, nope, not edit area, edit designation. I think we're good for now. I think there's still a little bit of stone in a few places, but that's fine. I'm not really worried about it. I was just trying to make sure that this was nice, reasonably flat, and squared off. So now we have a whole lot of trees. Somewhere in there, there is also a Mark II, 2 or 3 Mark II tree cutters. And yeah, they're pretty stinking fast. So we've gone ahead and done a little bit of work. Now, I did go expand this clear out to here because I think eventually what's going to happen, there's going to be one of two things that happens. Either we move all of these trees up into this surface area up here, or we move all of these farms up here or down here, in which case it doesn't really matter. It's just going to be that we're going to have to move one to the other somewhere else. I wanted to flatten all this area out just before we get too crazy because of the fact that I think, let me grab 3 of you guys. Can I copy 3 of you, please? I can get something like 5 in a row farms up here. That's a lot of farms. I mean, that's a lot of farms. So if we felt like it, we could actually probably get to all of the food productions that these people can eat. I don't even, where do we even find that level of thing? It's in the housing over here, isn't it? Click on a house. House, not a pipe. So I honestly think I could probably still be raising potatoes. We could be raising fruit. We could still be raising, well, we are raising vegetables and corn. That's been an interesting little challenge while we've been kind of screwing around over the last 10 or 12 hours of running. But I think we have enough room up here now that we could dedicate at least 5 farms to each of the 3 or 4 things that you need to be able to grow. That includes, honestly enough, soybeans, which I usually will not do. And that might even mean that, like, say, chickens are possible, because there's a nice row behind this little rail line that I did go ahead and lay back down on the ground and clean up and straighten out, that we could then theoretically produce a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be for a later date on a later time while we do a few other things. But yes, we did a whole lot of dirt moving, whole lot of moving things around. We're slowly filling in the hole for the copper. This line here is going to get squared off, I think, for now. So it's going to fill in this hole the rest of the way. And then once we get a little bit further with the excavators that are up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this nice little flat, nice surface area right here, all the way down to about here, and remove all of this mountain so that we have a nice little kind of an exchange between these two areas, because we're going to have to do a little bit of logistics work later on. But that's for, again, a later day, later time, later everything else. We've got a lot of other things to do. I did actually find, what's funny is I finally moved this mountain out of the way so we don't have to look at it anymore, and there may or may not be an extension of this shoreline clear out to here. Do understand that will be me having to move a coal thingy here and a couple of other things like the water and whatnot, but I do plan on actually expanding like this out quite a bit. Like this is probably going to be like 6 or 7 or 8 of these down here, and unfortunately I can't really do that right now because there's a problem with that mountain, or what's left of it. But anyhow, there's been some other work in between episodes. I guess we can talk about that. There's actually 3 projects we get to look at, which is kind of funny. We did go ahead and get the gold box filled all the way up. It's now functional. Everything seems to be good. I had to do a little tweaking, I think, on a couple of things, but gold is ready to go as far as being sold. Now, that's going to be exactly what we're going to be doing with that here in just a little bit once we set up a small amount of automation so that we can move into the next step, because I want to move into the next step. What is this? We'll worry about you later. I'm not concerned. The other thing that I did is I went ahead and ripped out what was left of glass, or what was the old glass, and rebuilt it over here in a kind of a, well, at least a tileable fashion. All I got to do is rip this box or this bucket off and move things down if we want to build another set of them. But I figure for right now, 2 blast furnaces into 4 Glassmaker Mark IIs should be more than sufficient for us to be able to produce. Well, it's like I said, it's almost another, that's almost 100 glass per minute. So we're doing pretty good there. That's fine. That's wonderful. I built it so, again, like I said, it's tileable. I think it's one of these Mixer Mark IIs can support 2 of these. So in the sense, what we do if we want to make more glass is we do something about like this. We remove that one bucket and we just drop this in next to it, and there's still a reasonable driving area beside there. All I will have to do is just add another one of these in down the line, and they can just kind of help each other out. I think for now, though, we're good to go there. And these are a big deal once you get to them, because there is no broken glass output. You're getting the full 100% usage out of your glass mix or your broken glass when you're making glass. So it's definitely something to get to, because you don't have to waste so much glass anymore. The other thing I did is I went ahead and rebooted and rebuilt steel to double it. So we're now at 8 blast furnaces, 8 oxygen furnaces, and 8 of the the cooled casters. Again, as stated, this requires you to run a single crusher for I think 4 blast furnaces at this point. So yeah, we had to move everything. I went ahead and pushed it down a ways. I believe it was like right here originally, right here in this corner. I mean, I think the bucket was actually like right there, so it was just kind of right here. I went ahead and moved it down because I needed the space, but we're going to continue to kind of shove things this direction anyway. But it is fully scrubbed, fully cleaned up, and we have a nice big box to fill up, and it's working okay. It shows the throughput limitations of certain things when you get to that point. I think we have 3 trains on that line now, and I probably should have just gutted the 3 trains and turned them into 2 very large ones, but it is what it is. It's fine. It works. It's okay. It's just that when it was trying to fill that box, things went a little manic and crazy, because it was like, holy cow, you really want us to go to work? I'm like, yes, I really want you to go to work. I did go ahead and throw down another module. I think it's this one. Yes, the household appliances module, so that we can start giving our workers and our people household appliances. Household appliances are, whoa, that was nice. Household appliances, pretty simple. A little bit of electronics 1, a little bit of electronics 2, and a little bit of steel. Makes 12 household appliances. Doubled up on that, made sure we had 2 of them going, because they're currently chewing through about 20, and I believe we're just about to have to worry about maybe making another one. I don't know. We'll see how this all goes. I'm trying very hard not to add any more of these in, because every single one of these costs us 8 workers, and well, it's just, I'd rather do other things. So that's going to be part of the fun with the computing and whatnot that we're going to hopefully get into a little bit today. So I've had these guys off for a while, mainly because I don't need them right now. So I don't need them burning the 6 megawatts of power that they would be using to run if they're running. So I mean, if they're idling, I don't believe they take anything, but they do use, a bunch of people. That's what it's 36 people for just sitting there not doing anything. It's fine. So the last project I think we're going to look at before we get too silly, I guess I did rework the train yards just a little bit, and I mean just a little bit by meaning I made the entrances and the exit. I made the entrances longer and the exit nice and swoopy, aside from this little curve right here. There is no slowdown once they get past this point until they hit this corner, and then this entire line is made of nothing but blue until right around in here. So there are no slowdowns. Once they get over the top of that hill, they just hammer down and go. This I did because of the fact that I was seeing them stop back here while something was... This is kind of one of those things you got to deal about it. Like, if you're thinking satisfactory or factorio like I am, there is still signaling in this game. Essentially what the signaling is these no stopping zones. Where are they? Where is the button? These are set to no stop. So a no stopping zone, or add remove no stopping zones, no stop zone sections will be highlighted in red, and trains will avoid stopping on them. What they'll do is they'll stop before it until everything is sufficiently cleared out of it. So when you're looking at this like from a Factorian specific section, there would be a signal right here, here, and here with a chain looking at the forward position through all of these. And if there was a train in any one of these intersections, then it would stop the trains coming forward until there was nothing in this area or until you hit the first deal. So essentially what we've got now is there's a parking lot that should be able to hold, well, in this case, quite a few trains. I believe here we can hold at least three trains, and maybe 2 or 3 trains in here. So it's definitely been an interesting learning experience. There is signaling. It's done in the matter of no stopping. So if you want to signal an area to keep traffic moving through it or not doing whatever, you can no stop an area, and then they'll just kind of keep going forward. It's not a huge problem, but I understand how it works now, or at least kind of understand how it works. So like in here again, there's signaling. It's just that instead of a train looking forward to see if there's a train ahead of it, it's looking to see whether or not there's a train in the stopping area, and the train will stop behind it. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I guess the other little thing I did is I added in a fueling station to every one of our ore areas, just so that they can try to do things correctly. And I've since found out how exactly stupid these trucks are. So are you going to go load somebody that makes sense? Okay, I'll allow you to do that, but why didn't this one do that? Because in reality, I would wager that one of these trucks right here is closer than you are. You know, I've seen some of the stupidity. I understand that what we're going to probably have to do fairly soon is get into the logistics groups for the trucks, because they are absolutely stupid. So now another truck from some other fuel station is going to try to fuel this instead of what I would consider as a common sense kind of thing, nearest first objective. It's not doing that, and I do not understand why. What are you guys doing? But I think probably once we get the electronics and a couple other things done today, I'm going to have to sit down and learn the logistics, because we definitely have logistical areas. So like this little area is theoretically a logistical area. This is now a logistical area. This could be left open to kind of take care of some of this area, but I may end up just saying it can handle this area. Again, a logistical area here. It's been interesting because like the trucks here, this particular thing here has been hilarious, because this particular fueling station has been coming all the way the heck over here to fuel these when there's one right here. So there's definitely some Looney Tunes kind of things going on with the trucks. So it is what it is on that end of it, I guess. Unless the final thing I should say is that I have decided to start getting rid of some of the sulfur that we currently own. The buckets were getting a little full and I got tired of playing with them. So I'm doing my favorite thing. And my favorite thing at this point, which is something we're going to deal with here in a little bit, is I like to take I like to take a little bit of sulfur, and it is a little bit of sulfur. It's 500 sulfur for about 1,500 sludge. If you then run that through an array or two of anaerobic digesters, you take 18 of that, it turns it into 18 fuel gas and 3 compost. Fuel gas, again, we know we can run that into a system over here and either burn it for power or turn it into diesel fuel, or we can do something really stupid with it, which I think we'll get to at the end of the episode. But this provides me a separate way to produce fuel gas, and then also at this point in time, if I felt like it, hydrogen. So we may go stick a little bit of hydrogen production in over here as well. I will probably build a little bit bigger one of these, but that gets rid of a reasonable amount of stuff. Essentially what happens is you trade 500, let me see if I can do the math correctly in my brain. 500 sulfur for 666 fuel gas, essentially. So that's kind of pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Now, the other trade you can do is a direct trade for sulfur to coal. So every one sulfur is a piece of coal. So if you're maybe not found a coal mine, or maybe you, instead of doing coal mine, you want to be silly, I think there's actually like a sulfur mine right here. I could fix that sulfur mine, bring that back, and trade every single one of those pieces of sulfur for coal. So it's kind of why I'm not going to worry about this right now, because if and when we manage to run out of the coal here, which we could possibly do in 1,000 years, then we'll be able to just turn this on and trade it directly into the stuff that we need. So there's always ways of doing things. It's a contract that you build up inside the system in here. But yes, we currently have this contract going, and I have a coal mine. Right, that's right. I was sitting there thinking, where the heck is my coal? But there's quite a few contracts in here that there's no reason not to run them. And to be fair, yes, if you want to, you can convert sulfur into slag, which can then be built into, where is it? Sulfur production consumption. You can turn 60 sulfur and 12 limestone into 30 slag, which in reality, I wouldn't do this one just on the specific fact that coal is more useful to you than slag is. So that's a direct trade. I'm just saying, it's a direct trade. You probably want to be doing that one instead of getting rid of the salt, making slag. That's a direct trade. So there's no reason not to do that one. Anyhow, okay, so we'll have fun with that in a little bit. I guess I've been rambling for a good little bit of time here. Again, that's what happens when you spend a little bit of time building in between episodes. So the thing I do want to do today is that we're going to go ahead and build the 20 microchips without building the 20 microchips. Kind of the building the 20 electronics 3 without building the microchips. So what we need to decide is where we're going to build the actual electronics assembly system for electronics 3. And I think I actually have enough room possibly right in here, because all electronics 3 is a microchip and an electronics 2. And they can be made, and this is where the problem comes. And this is why I'm saying this is when you kind of have to start a little bit of fun here. What I want to do is I want to make just the 20 required for this, and then I'm going to use all of the electronics 3 that we currently have stashed up to make a whole bunch of servers so that I can shut this down. Now, as we're doing this, I'm going to go through the rest of it and explain why, because, well, I guess we can kind of go on this right now really quickly. Let's look at the actual production for microchips. So if I do microchip, I think it's microchip, these guys right here. Microchip machines, regardless of what you do, unless you plan on building with just a single microchip machine, you're going to want 4 of them initially. So if we put 4 of these down in a kind of an array like so, and you look, well, that's great. If you're going to put 4 of these down, you're going to notice they have various recipes for in and outs and in and outs. And this is where the pain comes with these. So there's 4 steps with 3 sub-steps per each step built, if you want to look at it this way. We have to produce various amounts of, well, microchip stages, and it's kind of like I said, it's a long, drawn-out process. It takes 60 seconds for each one of these machines to incur what it needs to do. Now, if you want to, you can do this in, I think it's 3. I think you can do it with 3 machines if you cared, because in reality, the steps are the same across every single one of them. You have to add water. Well, you have this first step, then the second step, then the third step. But if you notice, there's 4 sections. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's easier to do it with 4 machines and then separate the sections up into each little deal. The reason why I'm saying this is such a pain in the tail is the fact that every single one of these is going to use 4 teraflops. And in order to be able to make it, we also need I think it's a silicon reprocessor. What the heck is it called? It is in here somewhere. I hate looking for these things because when you don't remember what they are, you got to go back to the tree and look for them. Where are we? Completely forgot about this. I need the crystallizer, right? So a crystallizer basically takes silicon and also does a little bit of sapphire. What the hell? Oh, that's aluminum. Interesting. Okay, but it basically takes some of the silicon poly we're already messing with, adds a little bit of water to it, and I guess smashes it into a wafer. Okay, well, that's fine. But again, this takes 4 teraflops. So 4 times 4 is why I have 3 of these. So that's how we're going to make some of this work for a little bit, should we choose to. And even then, at that point in time, that should leave us just enough. Actually, that should leave us just enough to be able to then build. Did I get the right one? Yes. Okay. That should leave us just enough to be able to then build one of these so that it can use the leftovers to craft the 1 or 2 little things that you need. So this is a bare minimum that I would start with until you can get past that one section. However, and again, like I said, however, if you're just willing to trade resources, you don't need any of this. Well, you need one of them. You just need enough to run one of these deals. So in theory, I just need to turn on one of you guys. And then I can build this and feed it from the market. Where is it? I'm not on any quick trade offers. Feed it from the market here. Now, granted, I understand this is going to cost me a lot more gold in the process, but in reality, what I want to do is I want to not be building these mainframe computers because they get these mainframe computers, because they're expensive and they cost a lot of people and they cost a lot of, well, resources. So cool. What do we got? Oh, I forgot to do the thing. Shut the thing off. You guys are doing good. I need to stop doing this. It's causing me a little bit of, well, back and forth, but it's okay. It's all right. Anyhow, I hope that makes sense. We will be building this because this is the way to do this, but for right now, what I want to do is I want to shortcut it so that I can sit down and use all of the red chips that we currently have to build servers in the actual data center thingy that will make a lot more sense when we get to it. So let's get to work on that. I think since all we need is the greens, I would really like to move it up here, but I honestly think I could just shove it in here next to these. We'll do 2 of them. I just got to figure out where I want to put the box to store the stuff. All right, let me rig some of this up. We're going to go ahead and build some things in here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the storage box back there. Again, this is all going to be kind of temporary because once we get some of this going, once we can afford to build a bunch of these, then we will, then we're going to be changing out a whole lot of the process, and, well, a lot of the things are going to kind of break very quickly. But yeah, as soon as we can afford to build a bunch of these, then this whole system is going to change. Sadly, I may even move a few things around, but we'll see. Actually, what I might end up doing is moving this out of here, but we'll see how that all goes. It's fine. It's okay. Growing pains are fine. Okay, I think I have something worked out that might work for the moment. I need to put a belt down to exhaust all of this, but I think we'll do 2 for right now. And all I want to do, can I let go of you, please? Build, sometimes this thing you're supposed to be able to do like that. Okay, is annoying, and when you want it to work, sometimes it doesn't work at all. All right, we need to bring you all the way over to there. We'll make it look pretty under there, in and over like that, and then in and over like that. And then what I'm going to do probably right in here somewhere is, Isaiah will do it about right there for now. We're going to put in a flat balancer. And then what we're going to do if we need anything is I'm going to have a storage box over here that will keep in a small amount of these things for us for a little while. And I didn't build the big one just because I didn't feel like building the big one, and I'm hoping that the trucks can kind of reach that. They should be able to get to it, sort of, kind of. And then that'll allow us to build anything we need to build with those things when the time comes. And then what I'll do is I'm going to start a 3rd bus down the middle of this thing, which is going to be really annoying to run, but I think we can probably just kind of hopscotch it like... I think I can go right past that machine right there and go in here, again, this is all incredibly, well, I'm going to say still early game based, trying to build a few things out, because once we get a couple of more things done, and I mean done, I mean like this hole filled back in, we may be ripping everything out, or I may be moving everything, the entirety, somewhere else. I mean, even up here, I don't know yet. I have no idea. I'm honestly contemplating getting once we get the big boy toys, or the big people toys, let's just be nice, the big people toys, this mountain is going away. I mean, literally going to get dissolved and dumped into the ocean back here. So we're going to have fun with that, I think. And it might even get dumped into the ocean over here. I don't know yet, but we're going to flatten that mountain range. We're going to take all the coal on the iron and the copper and everything in it and go to fun. What are we doing? What's wrong with you? Why are you struggling to find a place to go? Who are you? Oh. You guys probably don't have anything to do. 1 second. Where are you struggling? What are you trying to get to? I told you to stop with that. There is a setting for that, by the way. I've been irritated, driving nuts by it. If you go into your trucks or your vehicle setting and you click on the general tab, there is a checkbox that says disable logistics for newly placed buildings and machines. That means if you want them to move things in and out of newly placed buildings, you have to tell them they can, which is amazing. Thank you very much. All right. Well, you guys are going to need to be told to import to here, and we're going to, well, I guess what we'll do is we'll do unpause all of that, unpause that, get to building those, and I need to buy some stuff. I understand this is wasteful. Thank you. Hey, our first assembly 4 with what is that, 3/4 of workers? And utilizing a little bit of computer technology. Once those little guys flow in here, they look like little checkerboards. You guys can make the electronics 3. So our next goal is to make 20 of those things, which shouldn't take very long. Again, the only real reason why I'm doing this is because of the fact that I have, well, we have 600 of these things right now. There we go. Alrighty, so now we can start the research for the next part, which will get us easier computing. So now I need to find, I don't know, something has been going on with my my game that I did notice yesterday while I was playing. For whatever reason yesterday, I kept going up and down with people without losing any housing or anything noticeable. It was just kind of weird that the game at one point had dipped so low as to have almost like 20 people with this many labs shut off. We can turn this one back on and get to work. But like I had dipped to the point where I was a -1, but nothing had changed. And so I turned one of these on and then went up and, turned one of these off. And it fixed itself for a little bit, but then I started watching the number of people, not adding anything in, not the non-workers, people that are available, watching that number go down and down and down and down from like 30 something to like 25 for whatever reason, without losing any people at all, not adding in or removing any jobs. So then I restarted the game and it was fine. So apparently after a while the game decides it wants to start removing people if you've been on too long. I don't know. Anyhow, let's do that research. That's 5,200 research. I will see you all when that's done, unless I manage to build something really cool. I doubt it, but we're just going to continue to move dirt, and we'll see how that all goes. I suppose what we could do while we're at it, while that's busy building, is we need to design the beginnings of that particular system for building microchips. So I suppose while we're doing that, because we're going to have to make them anyway, that was kind of expensive. I mean, I sold an entire box for not a whole heck of a lot of parts, but that's fine because, well, that's why this is up here, and I think we still have more gold to dig. Plus, we should have a gold mine out on the world that if we want to, we can bring it in here, but that's fine. I know. It's all right. It's fine. It's not unlimited, but it's I doubt very seriously we're going to run out of that stuff anytime soon. So let us look at the last little bit here that I want to play with before we get into anything. We'll get that knocked out, and then we'll wait on that research to complete so that we can do some other things. Where is this? Why is it mad at me? Well, unfortunately, we missed the ding, but the ding just went through. We should now have data centers available to us, which is amazing. That's also going to require us to start making maintenance number 3, which I am going to have to concern myself with, basically because of the fact I do believe the data center is actually going to require maintenance 3, but we'll get to that point in a minute. I was busy trying to get some explanation done in recording and thinking about the way that I would normally do things with the way I've been doing this little job when it occurred to me that maybe it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was. So there are 2 different ways that we can build the circuit maker system. I was kind of already recording it and then realized that, you'd pretty much walked all the way through it, and plus I kind of effed up a little bit and forgot to push the button halfway through the recording. But I wanted to kind of explain the process and the problem that is producing the microchips for this game. The thing is, the microchips, as far as we've already looked at, and I've kind of explained it a little bit. Let's see here. My control tower has no designations. Let's see. Microchips. There are 12 stages between the end and the beginning as far as these things go. So if I click on a microchip machine, we can see all of the stops and stages that need to happen in here. And it's just basically a process that is a layering of various materials. First off, well, I should say layering. First off, we start with an etching process where we're going to take a wafer or a wafer or a wafer, and then they're going to etch into something else. Then they're going to layer on copper and plastic, and finally layer on the whatever this is into gold. And you have onto gold, which means this is a multi-layered electronics. This is something that your fellow frogman here happens to know a little bit about as to how the process actually works. Like, actually, if you're looking at this, theoretically, this is a multi-layer, probably 4-layer microchip / circuit board / whatever. It's a long, drawn-out, complicated process that takes a lot of time if you try to do it with a single machine. It still takes a lot of time if you want to make it with 4 machines or 3 machines. So it just depends on how you want to do this process. What I wanted to stop in here at this point is because of the fact there are theoretically there are 3 ways to do this. Theoretically, you can build 12 machines, and you can have 12 machines back to back to back to back to back, all in a line, kind of sort of like this. So you could just, come here, you. So you can do this, and this, and this, and, all the way on down until you have all of the machines that I believe you need. I think that's 12 or close enough. So you can do this many machines right here. All of those machines right here. And that will get you a single process done from start to finish without any kind of issues once you set up all of the recipes. Or you can do it the way that I used to do it, and I'm probably going to eventually get to it anyway. There are 2 easy ways to do this, but they both require recycling. My idea generally is that I like to spread the work out across multiple machines so that the theoretical work exists faster. However, it's not necessarily so much that is the point that when you start to look at what it takes to run 4 machines versus 3 machines, that the space savings start to make a little bit of sense as far as somebody, if you're trying to save space. Now, the reason why I say there's 2 main ways to do this is because there are, 12 is divisible by 4 and 3, respectfully. Because you have 12 processes, each of which are equal, you've got 12 processes that all follow the same type of an idea. Aside from the first ingredient, the actual steps are the same across all 4 steps. So that means you could either, I do not have a low food supply, you're fine. You can either do something like this, where we're going to have a single machine handle the stages 1, so like say 1 through, so the beginning through stage 3. So 0 through 1C, and then you take 1C through 2C, and 3 on down the line, pretty much. You can separate the systems out in such a way that this will happen, or you can understand that these functions are doable in groups based on, additional resources added to them. So the first theoretical step for the first 4, or for the 4 things, is to etch in water and then produce the next thing. Then you apply copper and plastic, and then finally you apply the gold. So depends on how you want to do it, and depends on whether you're trying to save processing power, because in theory this is saving you 4 teraflops over this size. However, you've got 4 machines up here doing all the work, which theoretically should be working faster because you're spreading the workload out over more machines. It's not necessarily the same. It's still going to end up producing 12 microchips per minute no matter what you do on these things. It's just that it's going to take it a little bit longer to do. And I managed to screw up this process. When we put these down, I'm going to have to make sure that we get these correct, because I think this is supposed to be all the way up there, and I think this one of these is incorrect. So CB, 2B, 2BC, 3, 4B. Okay, those are right. But essentially the problem is that you have to understand is that this is going to be a backstuffing problem that needs to continuously run in order to not backstuff, not have a problem, not screw up. So that's part of the reason why we're doing 2 of the things the way we're doing here. I'm going to kind of explain it using this one, and that's because if you look in here, I've made sure that the final step, at least the final step for the original thing here. So if I grab another one of these things and we slap it down here and we look, they come in pairs of 4, obviously, or pairs of 3, depending on how you want to look at it. You want to make sure you're always doing everything in a waterfall upward. So we start with the last one, we go with the middle one, and then we go with the last one in here, so that it will almost always try to produce whatever it possibly can first. That is the beginning of the next step, so it gets it out of the system. The same thing is going on down here. This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one, this is the fourth one theoretically, but I want it to process them in a waterfall down by highest priority, meaning the furthest along thing done first. It's kind of one of those little deals. Now again, this looks a lot simpler, and I think today this is what we're going to build. I like this idea because this theoretically can cover 2 of these. So if I do a boop and a rotate, I think we can do something kind of like this. Maybe 3 spaces should be sufficient. Maybe. No, we don't. Well, we can't do 3 because we got to be able to do 4, so 5. 5 is always the number spacing if you want to use the lifts, because the lifts take too much space up. But technically we can do that and then do like this, something like that. So then this one particular thing, and I'll probably like set it in the middle here or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. This one particular crystallizer produces 12 silicon wafers per minute, which is enough to cover, well, this times 2 at this point right now. So we'll be able to run that whole thing eventually with that one silicon wafer producer. On down the road, and this is something again to pay attention to when you're playing with this mess, I believe it is right here, microchip production. Where are we? Microchip production 2. The next layer of those microchip production machines, they take 18. So then you have to add a few more of these to the system in order to be able to run it. This again, it's an incredibly slow process, even by this standard here. Once it's up and running, it'll only be making 24 of those things per minute, and they take, I think, what, 2 per thing to work, right? It's 3 per one of those. So that means we'll only ever really be able to make, X amount of those per minute. 12, 24. We'll be able to make 24 of those per minute with the way this goes. So right now, I'm not really concerned about it, because we're just going to kind of trickle parts through, because those are going to be the main ingredient that is going to be needed to replace these things with our data centers. And the data centers are something that I want almost right off the bat. However, if I recall correctly, we're going to need to build... Great, we're going down in people because we have a flu. We're going to have to start making a little bit better... I suppose I could kick that on. Do we have an extra thing? We do. Why don't you guys just get better for a minute? Increase safety, health things. Nah, whatever. I guess I could quarantine them. I usually don't mess with these in here. Quarantines to reduce the work. Oh, yeah, go ahead, quarantine. Okay, that's not functional. We're not going to do that. We can just go and not enough crew. I love it when everybody has to get sick while you're too busy working on things. Just have too many workers for the time being. Thank you. You'll be fine. Now, I don't know why we're running out of food. We were doing just fine prior. Maybe I need to upgrade some things. There we go. Got some silicon finally. That should start making some silicon wafers. As soon as it gets enough in it. It's quite a few of them. It takes a decent amount of that stuff to go into there. We're going to be needing to probably double or quadruple the production of this stuff here fairly soon. But we shall see how it goes. We've got a little time. And there we go. So it's going to take 6 of those, add a little bit of this to them, run that through, take it out, shove it into here. It'll come into this one, and as soon as it gets 6 of those and some copper, for whatever reason we still haven't managed to get any copper, I don't know. Can you grab some copper, please? Thank you. All right. This is going to be one of those processes that it's going to take a while, regardless of what we do, because of the fact that I'm going to have to feed it via boxes for a while until we can get some of base rebuilt and restructured. Because the next big problem process is going to be moving the copper smelting down a little ways and then probably rebuilding a bunch of the science. Like, I'm probably going to rip out a bunch of the science in here. Once we get access to those machines, once we get access to a bunch of those machines, we'll be ripping out a lot of this stuff just so that I can then build back in the process for this, as well as a better process for the blue or the red chips. So that's going to be a little while. But did it go around once yet? No, but it should be about ready to. So there we'll go. Oh, I already done screwed up. I forgot to set you as a filter. Look at me being bad. I need a microchip. And while I'm at it, why don't you set this as a microchip? And I don't understand why our power just tanked. And empty that belt. Empty the belt. Empty the belt. Empty the belt. Empty the buffer. Okay. Empty the belt. Oh, I done did that wrong, didn't I? Hang on a minute. How did I do that? Oh, yeah, I need to flip that. Hang on a second. I'm an idiot. That needed to go that way. And you need to get bulldozed to there. Everybody's screaming at me, I know it. There. There. And then do that, and we should be alright, and you can get deleted. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, since I screwed that up, is I'm going to allow them to import these because I'm pretty certain some one of these is going to have some stuff it needs to have imported into. I believe we probably made a few. Did it get in here? No. Okay. Low supply copper ore. It shouldn't be. We should be... Oh, that's right. We're digging into this wall over here. That's fine. Dig into that wall and get us some more copper, guys. We're doing fine. And now we're going to start using up a bit of the copper because it's going to take a little bit of copper to make these chips. But we should be starting to see fairly soon a cycle around. So that cycle around will go into the thing, and that will deliver some of these in here. Why am I having power problems? All right, we're going to run a couple of the top lines there, which means this one should run a couple of the top lines here in just a second. When you finish that one, that means that this one can then run a top line as well, and we make chips, finally. So, there we go. And then that should dump new chips into the little storage container that will then get immediately, well, once we get enough of them hauled over here, dumped into that. I guess we've already been making a few anyway, but that's fine. Our box is now full of red circuits, which means we can start working on the other problem, which is I need to drag a line of red circuits across here so that we can make the next maintenance. Number 3. So that we can be able to run maintenance for the data centers that we're going to put down in the next episode. That one's been long enough. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. We've got a small chip making facility going, and as we can, we're going to immediately just start building a bunch of data centers and, well, computing with computers and things. And yes, I'm going to fix that. So I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.